Welcome to A Simple Life. We are going to go take a look at our edible, or maybe not so edible, cover crop. But before we do that, I'm going to see what these Bartlett pears taste like because, well, they're ripe. They're very ripe. Very, very ripe. Oh yeah, like candy. Seriously like candy. All right, let's take a quick look at the garden. We'll go through, collect some veggies for Christine, and then I'll explain a little bit what I'm doing prepping for fall and winter in the greenhouse, as well as then we'll go over and we'll look at the cover crop. We'll talk about what we're gonna do, and I'll show you what we're gonna do because we're gonna do it. By the way, this is delicious. A little overripe, but hey, can't complain. We'll come back to that. All right, so what have I prepped for fall, or kind of what am I prepping for fall? Well, let me show you. We have bunching onions back there, and then we have Napa cabbage, followed by 4-inch cabbage. We really like these little 4-inch cabbages we have. I'll show you that we have a few right down there. And then we have some spinach right there. And then we made a bunch of these because we are making more fig trees. But these ones are specifically for some cuttings I'm gonna get from a friend of mine, Drago. He's the same guy that I did the video about figs with, I think back in the spring. I think it was back in the spring. All right, let's get my picking box. Oh, right here. Let's go get some stuff for Christine. The boys just took a bunch of cucumbers and tomatoes home. So we're gonna get lettuce greens, some peppers, maybe some broccoli. I see some broccoli. We'll take some broccoli and maybe an onion. We definitely have some onions. We can take an onion, nice fresh onion home. Let's start with an onion. It's a nice hearty one right here. There you go. Green onion, she'll like that. These are actually Walla Wallas. Maybe I'll get a couple. Oh, here's another one. Now, my onions didn't do as well as they could have because I didn't know something, and I learned something this last summer, and I just learned it, and that is onions need 2, 3, 4 times as much water as the rest of your garden. The other thing I learned was, if you can't tell, my onions are kind of popping out of the ground. That is because, well, I planted in compost, and the compost is really loose and easy for the onions to move, and so it just moved it aside. So in the future, I'm gonna plant much deeper when I'm planting into like a compost or something that has a really high organic matter, because that soil is just so much softer, it's not as compact, and in my case, I planted these plenty deep and they almost all came to the surface, which is not helped either. Broccoli, we are starting to get some of these broccolis going. We are gonna have plenty of broccoli very, very soon. We can blanch them and put those in the freezer for winter. But before we do that, let's go down and we'll collect some greens. I was just cleaning up, and while I was cleaning up, I pulled out a couple of these. They're like a mustard green, but they're actually not that strong, so we really enjoy them. So I'm gonna take one of those with me instead of feeding it to the goats because it'll be delicious in our bellies. All right, let's get some lettuces. We have a couple different varieties of lettuce here. We have the butter lettuce that we've been growing all summer. We have a bib lettuce. And then back here, we have a heat and cool tolerant romaine. Not quite big enough yet. Looks like we're getting something's nibbling on some of this. So I'm not really happy about that. That's okay. It's part of, well, farming and having a working farm that has nature around it. All right, let's get some of these. I'm just gonna snap these off at the roots just like that. Pick off the dead leaves. And some of these are starting to bolt a little. And one of the things I tested this last planting is how close can I plant these? So in this case, I think I went about 6 inches apart, and I think it was too close. So in the future, I think I'll go about 8 inches. But because I don't have a pamphlet or anything on this variety, it's just a variety that Herman's grown here and we have a lot of seed for. Didn't really know. Now I know. This one looks like it's about to bolt, so we're gonna take that one. Nice little head. All right, so we have our mild mustard greens, butter lettuce, onion, scoot down here. It's some more of that mild mustard. All right, here we go. We have our bib lettuce. All right, and I have to cut these. I don't want to tear all the soil out. Here we go. I think I got it. Yep. Oh, it's beautiful. We also got some sweet peppers. They were on the last plant, all the way at the end back there. We'll put those in here. And let's get a little mustard greens. We actually have some mustard greens. I've never tried these. Let's give them a try. This is a new variety I wanted to try because it's heat tolerant. So, see what it tastes like. Definitely more mustardy. Actually has a spice to it. Wow. Truly hot. That's actually delicious. My wife's gonna hate that. That's okay. So let's not take a lot of that. We'll just take one plant. Just take just a little with us. Let Christine try it, see how she likes it. My guess is she's not going to be a huge fan of it, but that's okay. It's all part of growing stuff and enjoying what we have here. These are the little 4.5 inch or so cabbages that we really like. So I'm going to take one of these for Christine because she likes them, and so do I, and they are delicious. She's actually put some of these on the grill and just grilled them, and they were wonderful. All right, we have a fennel, a cabbage, some peppers. She already has tomatoes, and oh, we need to get some broccoli on the way. And then I promise we will go over and we'll talk about the edible cover crop. We'll take this little broccoli home. Cecil like that. And we'll take some of this riptide lettuce home because it's delicious. It's really good. And what I've been doing is just snapping it off, and it works really good, and the plant comes back. So take all 4 or 5 of these. There you go. All right, I got my box of goodies. Let's go put that in the shade, and then let's talk about the edible cover crop. So last year at this time, this whole area was covered in grapes, and the grapes weren't like this because this is pretty cleaned up. The grapes were completely overgrown, blackberry, all kinds of rose hip, oaks. There was maples in here. There was poison oak. It was a mess. Okay, so we came in and we took out, we're going to say half of these grapes. It wasn't really half because a lot of it was not salvageable at all, but we took out half and we spent some time pruning these and cleaning these up. These are all going to be rehung this winter, but we do have grapes, and the grapes are delicious. Like a high chew, but a little tart. They're not quite ripe yet. All right. Then in the spring, we came in here and we planted a couple hundred plants. There was squash, zucchini, watermelon, melons, all kinds of stuff. We watered it like crazy. We put some weed juice on it. When we saw that the plants weren't growing very well, we came in and put some compost down. And the results are nothing really grew. I mean, they're growing. We have some like watermelons that are like this big. They're not going to do anything else. So there you go. We got a watermelon right there. You can see the yellow plants in here, and you're going, Cal, you should have watered them. We've been watering them. That's our only real zucchini that we got right there. We have been watering them. Here's the problem, and this is the issue with this whole hillside. It's been tilled and tilled and tilled and tilled until there was no organic matter. And so I will water this, and I'll come out the next day, and it's like it's never been watered. There's so little nutrients here that, yeah, sure, oats will kind of go. Some random stuff will grow, but I can't get the stuff I need to grow here. Now, there was a kind of a method behind the madness of why I did what I did here. And the method behind this madness was I wanted to see what the soil was. So instead of doing a soil test and testing the organic matter all over this area and maybe getting a hit or a miss, I just planted stuff. And then I saw how it grew. Well, it didn't grow. And so then I amended some of the soil to see how it would grow once I got a little amendments around it. And everything took off. For the most part, it did pretty good with that. Now, one of the things that I noticed, once again, I did plant oats in here, so I know that I didn't help the matter by having oats growing next to this stuff, but I didn't want the ground to be completely bare, and I had a feeling that stuff wasn't going to grow the way I wanted it to. And so that's why I put the oats in here. It's just to help, hopefully, build up some more organic matter. Because at the end of the day, this whole area is going to be put into beds. And the beds are actually going to be running this way. Right now, we put the rows in going this way for the pumpkin patch, as we call it. But in the future, it'll be running this way. So that way the water runs down in between our paths and not across our paths if we have a rain event and we still have plants and stuff here. Now, one of the things I noticed here while this whole process was happening is we ended up with some some legumes that just took off. We didn't plant them, they just came up. They came up pretty consistently across the whole area. And for me, whenever I start seeing things happen that haven't happened in the past, or I haven't seen here in the past, it tells me that Mother Nature's trying to do what Mother Nature does, which is figure out how to heal itself. And so I agree. I think this area needs a lot more nitrogen. And so a whole lot of all kinds of stuff. And so we are going to come in, we are going to mow all this down. Once it's all mowed down, we're going to start laying out our beds that are going this way. And we are going to be doing earthwork soon. And I'm actually going to ask the gentleman that I bought my two-wheel tractor to come help me with this because, well, this is his forte. He's done a lot of tilling in his lifetime. And he'll be able to give me a little bit of a better idea of how to handle this area, how to build the beds properly, and hopefully that means next year when it comes planting time, I'll have some beautiful beds built up in this area, including these areas where the tarps are at. That will give us a new place to grow, not just the greenhouse, because right now we're kind of stuck in the greenhouse. And it's not a bad thing. We've had really good success in the greenhouse. So as we move forward, we will continue to grow in the greenhouse, but we are going to specifically grow things like tomatoes and some summer squashes, maybe zucchinis, cucumbers, peppers, that kind of stuff. And everything else will probably be, well, here. This is where the majority of our vegetables next year will be grown. We got it mowed. It wasn't quite as easy to mow as I thought. The oats were just more fibrous than I thought they were going to be. The mower had a little bit of an issue with it. It's not meant to mow cover crops in. And technically I let the cover crops go way too long, but it's all good. All right, so we are going to go down and we're going to start measuring off 4 feet and then 18 inches all the way up until we are right here. Before we do that, we're going to stretch a line from that side to this side so we know we're starting our beds nice and even, and we're going to leave enough space between the grapes and where the beds start so that way we know we can pull like a quad or a small tractor or something like that in between so we can spread manure on all our beds. All right, you ready to get started? Clint's right here, Clay's over there, and there's a cat coming right now to be part of the whole entire thing. All right, buddy, why don't you go and grab the line that's down there. Take that with you, we're gonna need that down there. Grab that line and I'll put a post in down here and you can put a post in on your side, or you could attach this back to that post down there, okay? All right, put a hitch at the top. Good kid, he knows what a hitch is. It's on? All right. Perfect. All right, so we got this wire up. It's about 8 foot from the grapes. I think that's plenty of room to be able to come in with like a quad or a tractor or anything like that and to be able to pull in with the little manure spreader that we have. That should get us in a good spot when it comes to being able to spread new manure and compost on our beds. All right, walk that out along the string as far as you can, okay? While Clint's rolling up the tape, let's take a look at what I've done. And I'll kind of show you what it looks like. I know I've said what it was going to look like, but this will make more sense now. So what we have is we have 4 feet and then 18 inches, 4 feet, 18 inches, and so on and so forth all the way up. Now we're going to go down to where that flag is, right around there, and we're going to do the same thing down there, but we're going to be cutting across this way. And the idea is that we will lay out these beds a little bit at a time. I'm actually not going to be forming the beds today. I'm going to contact Larry, who's the guy that sold me my little 2-wheeled tractor. He's going to help me figure out this whole process because I've never run a 2-wheeled tractor doing this. I've done a little bit of mowing with one, but that was about it. Other than that, I'm a novice. And so I'd much rather get a professional, somebody who has a lot of experience doing this, because I feel like, well, it's going to shorten the learning curve just a wee bit. All right, let's get down here and we will get this laid out. Okay, so I'm going to film this whole thing all over again because what happened was is I was shooting some time lapse with this camera and I left it on time lapse mode, which means when I came and I did this whole dialogue and I told you everything I was working on and why I interrupted the video, well, it was all in 10x speed, which basically just made me move my mouth really fast and had no audio. So let me explain what's going on here. We got all those posts in, we got everything set up the way we wanted. And then I looked around and I realized that the location is so important. And my location was not what it needed to be, because once I put these beds in, I'm not taking these beds out. I'm not tilling them in again. They're going to be there for as long as I'm gardening until I'm ready to do something else with this field, which means a very long time. So whatever I do here, I'm kind of married to. Yes, that's a permanent thing. Yes, I'm married to. All right, so I decided I wasn't happy, and so we came in, the boys helped me, and we redid this area and I leveled the field. Now I didn't level it completely, but what I did was, and I'm going to show you right now, is as you can see behind me, there's about a 2-foot drop down from the grapes down to here. And the reason that's there is because I took the crown of this hillside off and I moved it down. And I moved it over here. And the reason for doing that is I had a big dip right in that section right back over there. And that dip was gonna make it so that way I was gonna have some water pooling there, especially once I get good compost and good organic matter in my soil, a good amount of it. That water's not gonna just drain off and disappear. It's gonna pool in low spots. And I didn't want to have any water pooling. I wanted my beds to be fairly consistent. And now while this isn't perfectly sloped, there's a little bit of a crown in the middle. There's some little divots and wiggles. That's okay with me. What I didn't want was what was happening, which was there's a big crown right here. And then as we came down, it just had a big bowl right in this section. So I came in with a tractor and a disc and a tiller, and I used a little bit of the excavator, and we came in and we pushed the soil over and we evened it all out and smoothed it out with the tractor yesterday, and I'm really happy where we're at. Now, I normally wouldn't do this if we had good soil here, but the problem is we don't have good soil here. The problem is the soil that is here is kind of dead. I haven't seen, like I think I've said this, there wasn't a mole hole, a gopher hole, any holes in this field all summer long. Nothing. I didn't see any life. I haven't seen worms. I've seen very, very little life. The only time I saw any real life in here is when we first came in and I first did some work in here and I put the plastic down. I came in, I saw a little bit of activity from organisms and bugs and stuff working underneath, but not much. It was pretty dead. And so I'm not really worried about moving the soil around. If this was really healthy, had a lot of life going in it, I wouldn't have touched it. I wouldn't have done anything. I would have just planted in it. But we haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. In all the work I've done here, I don't think I've seen a single worm. And so if I go over to my garden and I take a little spade and I pop a little dirt up, there's going to be 5 or 6 worms in there. I'm not seeing that here. So that's the other reason why I wasn't worried about this. I'm kind of at the place where everything going forward is going to be important. Sure, I had a cover crop in here, but the cover crop didn't, as I showed you, really wasn't all that healthy. And so now going forward, we are going to start building organic matter, building all the organisms, helping those organisms to thrive, and we will have really beautiful gardens in here. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So it'll be next year when I start having stuff growing in here. For right now, this is where we're at. We have a good blank canvas to start with. I'm going to actually get a hold of Larry. I've talked about him, and see if he can come help me form these beds. And we're going to get these beds formed over the next couple of weeks, hopefully, if he has time. And then I'll show you what that looks like. I'll show you why I did the way I did it. You'll be able to see that. And then we'll start bringing in wood chips, putting those in our pathways, getting everything laid out like that. All right, guys, thank you. I'm sorry it took a couple extra days to get this video. We had all kinds of shenanigans come up. And so it was that, and then the video was filmed wrong because I screwed that up. And so thank you for joining us on A Simple Life. Sometimes a simple life is really busy. All right, have a good one.